Okay, we're stopping.
We are just a few minutes away from opening up the...
All right, stop what you're doing and take a look at this video. A case of road rage leads to a wild crash on a Southern California highway. Here it is. Watch here as a motorcyclist kicks the car. The driver then swerves, loses control, slamming into a wall. See some fire there off that wall there. The car then goes across the highway, slams into a pickup truck. That truck flips over. The motorcyclist rides away. Crazy, huh? One person was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries after this wild scene.
If we could take that live look here. This is going to be 67th Avenue in Camelback. The intersection closed down. This is going to be in Glendale. And that intersection closed down after that really bad crash. As you look live at this scene, 2 people taken to the hospital here, one of them with life-threatening injuries.
Little math quiz for you here. What's 400,000 divided by 2? The driver of this Lamborghini could tell you after the very pricey sports car was cut in half in a crash that was caught on surveillance video. The Lamborghini can go from 0 to 60 in just under 3 seconds, and it can get to top speeds of 217 miles per hour. But the car was no match for a Nissan making a turn. CBS 2's Don Champion with the story from Brooklyn.
The video is downright cringeworthy. A $400,000 car destroyed in a collision on a quiet Brooklyn street.
Sounds like a big noise.
Haim Baluk lives at the end of Gaylord Drive in Mill Basin and heard the accident happen Saturday. Security cameras on a neighbor's home caught the moment a sedan collided with a Lamborghini.
We got lucky nobody was over here, walking, it was a holiday. Nobody got killed.
Take a look. The collision sent the pricey car crashing into a tree. Another camera angle then shows the Lamborghini severing in half, a safety feature meant to help protect people inside the car. Perhaps it's the reason why the driver managed to walk away from the crash. Days after the accident, you can see there are still marks on the street here showing the path the Lamborghini took after it split.
I looked at the cameras and I was horrified.
Security cameras at the home of Dr. Michael Yuryev's parents recorded the accident. He then posted it online. He says it is proof of the speeding problem neighbors have been dealing with for years. Investigators say the brother of the Lamborghini's owner was behind the wheel at the time of the accident and was speeding. Yuryev and others now hope the costly crash gets them action.
We need to do something about it because, I walked down that street. My family walked down that street.
It's a big problem because there is no stop sign. From these streets over there to there, no stop signs at all the way to the end.
No one was cited for the accident. In the Mill Basin section of Brooklyn, Don Champion, CBS 2 News.
This video of the blazing crash along I-10 in California is like something straight out of a movie.
It was like a big mess. It was very scary.
Peyton Miller and 40 of her fellow cheerleaders were heading home from an amazing time cheering in LA.
The ride home was pretty fun. Everybody was jamming out to music and everything, so they were all having a good time.
When suddenly, a hit. Many of the girls were thrown forward. Peyton extended her arms to brace herself from the force of a semi-truck hitting their bus. The bus even tilting to one side as it was sent flying straight into a ditch.
Everybody started screaming, they were terrified. They started crying. They didn't know what was happening. We could see outside the windows just going down that little ditch. It was very scary.
As the girls got out of the bus, Peyton shot this video of the disaster. You can see the girls are in shock, crying as they struggle to call their parents.
The teen moms were texting and calling us and letting us know that everybody's okay. 3
of the girls and the bus driver had to be taken to a hospital. Everyone else was placed on vans and driven home to Phoenix, where Peyton's mom and dad and other parents were waiting.
Out of her mouth was when she got in the truck was, "Can you drive me next year?"
1 day later, Peyton is still recovering. But this picture, taken after the crash of her and her teammates hand in hand, shows they're all-star strong.
So many unanswered questions on why an off-duty police officer led police on a high-speed chase, crashing into a woman, killing her and himself. The impact was so intense, the 2 vehicles were unrecognizable.
This surveillance video shows the off-duty officer in his personal Jeep driving very fast near Roosevelt and Costner. About 4 seconds later, an unmarked police SUV with lights flashing is seen behind him. Then, the off-duty officer crashes into a Nissan at this intersection. The impact killed 27-year-old Shaquita Adams and the off-duty officer. Both vehicles were mangled in the aftermath of the horrific crash.
This car is completely totaled, and
but somebody's going to need to be extracted and in some fire.
This is among the most difficult, heartbreaking addresses I've had to make since becoming superintendent due to the unnecessary loss of life.
Superintendent Eddie Johnson says Area Central Gang Unit tactical officers had been pursuing the Jeep driven by the officer because it appeared to match the description of a vehicle connected to a carjacking. They later realized it wasn't the vehicle they were looking for and stopped their pursuit. On
behalf of myself and the entire Chicago Police Department, it's with a heavy heart that I offer my deepest condolences to the young lady that lost her life and her family and the family of the off-duty police officer.
The mangled, crushed cars look like something you'd see in a junkyard. Certainly not like vehicles that just moments earlier were driving intact on the LIE with people inside. These pictures, the aftermath of a devastating chain reaction crash near the eastbound Maurice Avenue exit in Maspeth, Queens, just before 4:30 a.m. Witness Carlos Rocha described the scene.
And a guy's head sticking out of the crushed car. So yeah, it was horrible.
It's unclear where each vehicle falls in the sequence of events, but police sources say this all initially started when an Infiniti lost control and crashed into the guardrail. 3 people inside were ejected and killed. A second car then also crashed. Rocha and at least one other Good Samaritan went to see if they could help when yet another crash happened.
While we were trying to stop traffic on this side from, coming to the accident scene, the yellow truck, the dump truck, he was coming too fast and we heard him braking and he just ran into cars.
As I'm getting out and walking towards the accident, I'm hearing boom, boom, boom. So I double step it up the hill to see what's going on.
Police say a truck slammed on the brakes to avoid the initial crash, but several cars behind the truck then collided. The NYPD shut down the eastbound lanes as first responders helped victims and investigators processed the scene.
My heart goes out to the families of the 3 people that died. This is awful.
Christine Pardo works right near the crash site and says she would not be surprised if speed played a role.
This area is extremely dangerous. You have regular drivers that are speeding through here, and you have truck drivers that are speeding through here also.
Amtrak train in Florida smashes into a car, splitting it right down the middle. Amazingly, all 3 people in that car managed to survive. There was a woman in the back seat who was thrown from the car. She cracked her vertebra.
The crash of the noise, the impact, I couldn't hear for a second or see. I was dazed, but when I turned around, the back of the car wasn't there.
Yeah, the driver of the car was given a $300 ticket for crossing the tracks when the gates were down. Brian, you were just asking about that.
Right along Highway 16, the tow trucks are still here, and let's get straight to the video of this crash scene. If we can take a look, you will see a Honda Civic literally sheared in half in a head-on collision. That was with a pickup truck. Those two collided closer to Excelsior, and then from this accident, just about a quarter mile away, the slowdown caused by it caused another car to, for some unknown reason, lose control, ended up rolling over on its top. Here's the amazing thing. The Highway Patrol says all of the drivers involved here survived with minor to moderate injuries. For the tow truck driver, who was the first one on scene of this car cut in half, he couldn't believe it. Listen.
I'd be surprised if they're alive.
They are.
Oh, they are. Wow. That says a lot for the car.
And how lucky is the driver?
Real lucky. And usually when it's a call for 2 trucks on Jackson Highway, it's usually a head-on collision.
It was a crowded vehicle on a long day trip to do a construction job. And when that van flipped in Merrimack, a survivor tells us not everyone was secure inside. The van on its side and the debris-strewn highway tells the story of what happened this morning when the driver lost control and the vehicle rolled into the median strip on Route 495 North in Merrimack. 23-year-old Jose Chuque, with facial bruises and an injured arm, says a tire blew and he has little memory of what happened next. He speaks through an interpreter.
He kind of blacked out during that time the van was rolling and came to his senses when it came to a stop.
He was with 5 others traveling this morning from Milford to a home in Maine for a roofing job. One person thrown from the vehicle was killed. Another later died from his injuries. One of the victims, Jose Chuque's uncle. He admits not all were wearing seatbelts.
Says the driver had a seatbelt on, but the other guys, they were in the back. There was no seats in the back, so they were just like, on top of the tarps.
Chuke says there were extra workers today to get the job done. Ladders that were strapped to the top of the van and tools that filled it were also thrown on the highway. A devastating scene that backed up morning traffic for hours while both the investigation and the cleanup were underway. Jose Chuke says he was fortunate to survive, but heartbroken at the loss of his friends.
He's devastated by this. He's in that emotional pain right now.
Deadly crash on the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, and it's due to a wrong-way driver. This is a live look at the scene from Eagle 8 HD. The southbound lanes of the bridge right now are shut down. We have team coverage for you. Meredith has the detour information that you need. But first, let's go right to Ryan Hughes, who's just feet away from the car that caused this crash.
And good morning to you. We're on a frontage road that runs parallel with the highway, and I'll step out of the way and show you a live scene right now of this emergency situation. The car at one point was teetering over that concrete barrier, but as you see here live right now, they just pulled it back onto the pavement as the investigation continues here. Let's go to some video we shot just a few moments ago. According to a Florida Highway Patrol spokesman, this happened around 3:45 this morning. A four-door Ford traveled northbound in the southbound lanes of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. We're told by that spokesman that the vehicle struck a pickup at the base of the bridge. This happened, as I mentioned, right next to the fishing pier on the Manatee County side. The woman driving that Ford car died here on scene. A man in the pickup truck, he's reportedly in stable condition at a local hospital.
An afternoon drive turned into a deadly pileup on the 210 freeway, killing 2 people.
KCAL 9's Lori Perez is live in Glendora, where the fatal accident happened. Lori.
The pictures from Sky 9 are very graphic and pretty gruesome, showing just how intense the accident was. 2 cars and a truck were involved. CHP says it was a Honda Accord in front, a Honda Civic in the middle, and a pickup truck behind. The Civic just crushed between those 2 other vehicles. It ended up turned around from the force of the crash. CHP tells us there were 3 people in the middle car, a 25-year-old man and a 76-year-old woman who both died on the scene, and a driver who they say has relatively minor injuries and who EMTs took to a local hospital. Now, those first 911 calls about the crash came in at 3:57. CHP says witnesses have said traffic was normal. There was nothing extraordinary happening at the time of the accident.
A new video this morning of a frightening highway accident. Look at this in southern Wyoming. High winds tipped over this tractor trailer onto a Park State Police cruiser on Tuesday. The video was captured by a dash cam in another police vehicle parked at the scene. The police cars were unoccupied at the time of the crash and no officers were hurt. The truck driver was injured but is expected to be okay.